before meditating, put this powerful suggestion into the mind. Tell the mind, oh mind, whatever you can think of, no matter how great, how sublime, how spiritual, I am not interested. I'm not interested in anything that you can think of. And yet, I also put it in this way, that which I am interested in, you cannot think of it. And this is a powerful suggestion to the subconscious, to the mind itself. I am not interested in your activity. So that quietens down the activity of the mind. And yet, there is something I'm interested in. I, the spiritual seeker. Otherwise, what happens? The mind will go to sleep. Otherwise, a darkness comes upon the mind. So put in a suggestion there also that there is a seeking going on. And tell the mind that you cannot reach there. That which I'm interested in, I am interested in becoming enlightened. I want to know my non-dual awareness nature, but you cannot deliver that to me. This silences the mind.
Welcome to Letting Go and the Greater Secret, where we explore the end of your suffering and the beginning of lasting happiness. I'm Hale Dwoskin, and today I'll be interviewing Swami Sarvapriyananda. Swami Sarvapriyananda is the minister in charge of the Vedanta Society of New York. Previously, he served as an assistant minister at the Vedanta Society of Southern California. During the 2019 to 2020 academic year, he attended Harvard Divinity School as inaugural fellow. Swami is an ordained monk of the Ramakrishna Order in Vellore, Math, India. What is awareness and what is its importance?
Well, that's the most fundamental thing about our lives, isn't it?
Yes.
And its importance was actually recognized a long time ago, back in the Upanishads, which were composed or revealed, let's say, 3,000-4,000 years ago, even by conservative modern scholarship. The philosopher Evan Thompson says that the whole consciousness study, the studies of awareness, it's very popular these days, very important these days. It goes all the way back to the Upanishads. And what these ancient seers, we call them rishis, they discovered was that our essence is awareness. So that's one straight answer to what you asked. What is awareness? That's really who we are. And when we look at our lives, it's just awareness and what we are aware of. Think about it. When we are seeing something, when you're looking at this program, for example, you are seeing people, you're seeing your screen, you are aware that you're seeing this. When you hear something, you're aware. Awareness is there. And when you taste and smell and touch something, awareness is there. So think of it like light, which lights up everything and reveals what is in darkness. Light shines upon it and reveals everything that there is. Similarly, one way of thinking of awareness would be like a light which reveals everything that we experience, and which includes every sensory experience: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, inner experiences, thinking, feeling, understanding, remembering, desiring, hating, forgetting, even sleeping. So this continuous inner light which we have, which lights up our lives, this is awareness.
Yes, yes. And how can we discover from our own living experience that this awareness is primary and everything else is secondary?
Hale, that's an easy question and one of the most difficult ones at the same time. You're asking straightforward, how do we become enlightened?
Right.
Yes.
I know. It wasn't a trick question, but I knew it was a one we can go as deep with as we'd like.
Yes. So let me take a first preliminary pass at that. First is that it's always present. As somebody put it, it's never not here.
Right.
It's always present. It is in and through every one of our experiences. So it's always available. What we're looking for is always available. The way I put it is, when you are in search of awareness, you're basically in search of yourself.
Yes.
And that is not a search in space. You don't have to go anywhere, some particularly holy place or high up in the Himalayas, or even to a place called heaven. You don't have to go anywhere. You could what you would find there is exactly what is present right now. It's also not a search in time. It's not something you have to wait for. For example, wait for after death, you go there and you find awareness, or it's not something that you have to wait for a particular spiritual experience and then you find awareness. And what happens in spiritual experiences, even the highest non-dual breakthroughs, is that you discover something that was always there. I mean, the feeling you get is, oh, it was always there. I never saw it, or I never understood it. I never got it. So it's not a journey in time either. It's not a journey from yourself to something else. It's not. You're not looking for a God out there. You're not looking for even an experience out there which you have not already had, a new experience. So what is it a journey? It's still a journey. There is no doubt about that. We are not there yet in a certain sense. So what kind of a journey is it? When you say you're looking for your own real nature, awareness, it's a journey from ignorance to knowledge, from not realizing to realizing, from not knowing to knowing. But there are two little wrinkles here. One is, this knowing is not an objective kind of knowing where you read something or hear a lecture or take a course and then you know. It's not like that. Because awareness is that which is lighting up all knowing. It's present in all knowing. It makes all knowing possible, all understanding possible, all not understanding possible also, all remembering and forgetting possible. So it's the basic light which lights up our lives. That's the problem. That's one problem, that it's not the usual kind of knowing. That's why there is always this distinction in spiritual life between I'm sorry to do this, book learning and real I would say realization, or
Yes,
intuitive
experientially.
experiential realization. That's one. The second problem with this is, because it's directly present all the time and it is involved in and through every experience, it's easy to miss it.
Yes.
Yes. The real problem is that we are looking in the wrong direction. All our experiences are objective experiences, whether they are people, places, gadgets, food, whatever we taste externally, or whatever we taste or experience internally, like thoughts, feelings, emotions, ideas. They are all objects to consciousness. They are all objects to awareness.
Yes.
They are not awareness per se as
Yes.
such. So that's what makes it more complicated.
Yes.
So these are a couple of big hurdles you have to overcome. It's a knowing, it's a realization, it's a kind of getting it, and yet it's not a book learning or a book knowing. The books can help, and they are important. They really point us in the right direction. So you have to understand the place of teachings and books as pointers. The second really big problem is, it's not out there. It's
Right.
not an object. And that's a really, really big problem, because all that we have been accustomed to experience, whether worldly or spiritual, whether good or bad, they're all objects to awareness. We never have really considered what awareness is in itself. This is the first time we are turning the light towards itself. Sri Ramakrishna had this beautiful little parable. A village watchman, you think of a village in India, in the dark, there's a watchman with his stick and his turban and his lantern, and going from house to house. And somebody meets him, and he's holding the lantern and sees everybody's face there. And somebody whom he meets on the way in the dark says, "Sir, would you for once turn the light on your own face? We have never seen your face." So it's like turning the light on the watchman's face. We are that watchman, and the light and the face are basically the same thing.
Yes, yes.
So these are the issues on the path.
Yes, and even our spiritual experiences are experiences still, aren't they?
That's something that a lot of people stumble over.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
I'm very glad you brought this up. Spiritual experiences are also experiences. It's not to deny that there are no spiritual experiences. There are. There are this vast range of spiritual experiences not yet explored by modern psychology, but pretty well known to all the religious traditions of the world. Pretty well known. The mystics of the world religions have had this vast spectrum of spiritual experiences, but they are experiences.
Yes.
If you see a cup of tea, you are seeing it. You, awareness, through the mind, through the eyes, you are able to see the cup of tea and taste the tea. If you see God, it's still the same awareness. It is to you the awareness that this mystical, amazing vision of a divinity, of a deity is revealed. Now, I'm not saying the cup of tea and the God vision are the same. They're not. The mystical experiences of the world religions are extraordinarily valuable experiences. They are far more valuable than our mundane experience. They are life transforming.
Yes,
they are the sources of our world religions. Yet, the thing that has to be understood here is that it is to the same awareness. It is because of the same awareness that you have the tea experience and the God experience. It is in the same awareness that you have the tea experience and the God experience. It is not apart from that same awareness that you have the tea experience and the God experience. And ultimately, that's the paradox and stunning realization. They are nothing other than awareness itself, appearing to itself as objects.
Yes, yes. So, in my experience, a lot of times people also get confused by the side effects, as I would put it. As you recognize that you are awareness, there is this often a feeling of lightness, of openness, of love, of stillness. And isn't that too just another experience or a side effect of recognizing what you are as opposed to that itself?
I'll make a subtle distinction here.
Please do. That's why I brought it up. I wanted to get your perspective on it.
Yes. Rather than use the word side effects, I would say the benefits, natural
benefits is much better.
benefits, yes, the natural outcome, and something that flows from the nature of awareness itself.
Yes, yes.
So, for example, one powerful indicator of a genuine spiritual experience would be the sense of oneness with everything.
Yes.
That all is one, and I am that oneness in some sense. And that is basically awareness. It's a good example would be when we wake up from a dream. When we wake up from a dream, we realize whatever we saw in the dream was me, I, the dreamer. Whoever I saw in the dream was I, the dreamer. Even the little guy who was there in the dream, I thought I was that guy, was I, the dreamer. Even the inanimate things in that dream world was I, the dreamer.
Yes.
So all of those things in the dream world and all those people are one with me, the dreamer. Exactly the same situation obtains with awareness and its objects. The waking world, with all sensory experiences, are not apart from awareness. So you have a breakthrough spiritual experience of awareness would be that I'm one with all, and that is a benefit, definitely, and it comes straight from the very nature of awareness.
Yes.
Awareness being open to all experiences. Let me say what I mean by that. All experiences are possible because of awareness. If awareness were in some sense resistant to any object, then you wouldn't experience that object. I mean, if you ask, how do you define experience? There is a very elegant definition would be awareness plus object is an experience.
Yes.
Awareness lighting up an object it's just like light flowing through. The moment I thrust my hand in there, you see it glows white in the light. So there's a light. You can't see the light in itself. The moment I raise my hand into that light, you see object, hand, and the light reflecting of the object. Similarly, whatever we experience in life, whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, people we meet, interactions we have, thoughts we have, emotions we feel, they're all like objects floating up in the white light of awareness. So that's what we call an experience. And awareness is not resistant to any experience whatsoever. That nature of awareness, upon the breakthrough, upon the intuitive grasp of what we are, we experience as openness. So if I am aware, if I am awareness, then I am naturally choicelessly open to anybody, anything whatsoever. Now, The subtle distinction I want to make is, let's take these two very deep experiences of oneness and openness. That is the very nature of awareness.
Yes.
The moment we grasp that, or we make the breakthrough, some of that is transferred to the mind. By mind, I mean the internal instrument of thoughts, feelings, ideas, the intellect, the ego, that which says I. So I am not the ego, I am awareness.
Yes.
But what happens is the mind now grasps that, or at least is radiated is illumined by this new understanding.
Yes.
So the person, I mean, what is the person after all? It's that impersonal awareness, which I really am, shining through a particular mind with its conditioning, with a particular body-mind complex. And so that impersonal awareness, is shining through this body-mind as Sarvapriyananda right now. Now, what happens is this person gets some of those benefits.
Yes.
So that you can see a big change in the thought and the behavior of that person.
Yes.
And that's what you might call an enlightened person, a saintly person, or Jivan Mukta. The term used in Vedanta is the embodied yet free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I guess what I was pointing at, though, there was two things I wanted to pick up on. The first thing, what I was pointing at, is not that which comes naturally from awareness, but the mind will sometimes think, well, because at the moment I'm not blissful every moment, or I'm not always experiencing as an experience this oneness. It's more in the background. We may doubt our having recognized truth.
Yeah.
And the mind starts second guessing what's being experienced. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. One thing we need to know for sure, you do not really ultimately depend on the mind. It's the mind who depends on you. Yes. You are not the servant of the mind. This mind is your servant. It's your instrument. The senses and the mind is the instrument for awareness. So awareness shining through the mind and the senses enables them to function.
Yes.
Now, as you said, because we use the mind for everything, including our spiritual quest. So the mind also takes it upon itself that, all right, my job is to deliver enlightenment to this guy. So I'm going to make this guy enlightened. It cannot.
Right.
but in its attempts, it can be used. The mind is used for listening to a talk, reading a text. It can be used for meditating. These are all good things. One of the Kashmiri Shaiva philosophers, Abhinavagupta, he says the mind trying to realize awareness is like a rock trying to illumine the sun.
Yes. Beautifully said.
Beautifully said, yeah.
Yes.
I think he said a clay pot. That was a classic example. So a clay pot trying to illumine the sun. It's the other way around.
Yes.
So knowing this very carefully, one must not get upset. When the mind says, I'm getting it right, we can say, good for you, mind. When the mind says, I'm not getting it right, yes, I have to work harder at it. And you can say, don't worry too much about it, mind. I'm fine.
Right.
There is this beautiful meditative technique, a suggestion actually, used to calm down the mind in the Yoga Vashishta. It's a very ancient non-dual text. So there it says, before meditating, put this powerful suggestion into the mind. Tell the mind, oh mind, whatever you can think of, no matter how great, how sublime, how spiritual, I am not interested. I'm not interested in anything that you can think of. And yet, I also put it in this way, that which I am interested in, you cannot think of it. And this is a powerful suggestion to the subconscious, to the mind itself. I am not interested in your activity. So that quietens down the activity of the mind. And yet, there is something I'm interested in. I, the spiritual seeker. Otherwise, what happens? The mind will go to sleep. Otherwise, a darkness comes upon the mind. So put in a suggestion there also that there is a seeking going on. And tell the mind that you cannot reach there. That which I'm interested in, I am interested in becoming enlightened. I want to know my non-dual awareness nature, but you cannot deliver that to me. This silences the mind.
Yes, that's a good pointer. Wonderful pointer. The other thing I want to ask you, it's something you mentioned earlier, that the object and awareness is what creates experience. But isn't the object too part of awareness?
Right. That is, I think, the profound mystery of non-duality. One way of approaching non-duality, and which we do in Advaita Vedanta all the time, is to take a two-step approach to the not to. Non-duality is basically not to. There's no second reality. So when you say not to, what do you exactly mean? Awareness is not to. Awareness is in reality non-dual, which means there is no second thing apart from awareness.
Yes.
Immediately the question will come up, oh, but we all the time, awareness is aware of its objects. That's what counts as experience. We see forms, we hear sounds, smells, we taste flavors, we think thoughts. So aren't they objects, physical objects and subtle objects in there? And this is the second step in non-duality. The first step is to appreciate awareness for what it is, apart from the objects. And this is the famous neti of Advaita Vedanta. Not this, not that.
Yes.
Whatever comes up in awareness, you say it's not this form, not this sound, not this thought, not even this understanding, not even the feeling of I, not this, until you come to something that cannot be dismissed, which is awareness itself. So that's the first step. The second step is what you are pointing towards. But what is it that I dismissed? All the sounds and tastes and smells, all the thoughts and feelings and ideas and memories, all the desires and, all of that, what was it that I dismissed? All those objects, what is its relationship with awareness?
Yes.
As one great teacher of non-duality in India, Swami, he said, it is true, while it is true that awareness is separate, distinct from its objects. Awareness is distinct from everything else. It is true. But then you must ask yourself the question, all those, that everything else, is that distinct from awareness? The moment we think, see, this is the paradoxical nature of it. The moment I think something is distinct from something else, so the glasses are distinct from the pen, glass is apart from the pen, it seems inevitable that the pen is also distinct from the glasses. They're two different things then. So if I say awareness is distinct from all the objects, neti, not this, not this, not this, and I separate pure awareness, pure, like pure light from all its objects, so doesn't it stand to sense that the objects are different from awareness? No. It's like, take the clay pot example or the gold ornament example. Gold is not a necklace. Gold is not a bracelet. Gold is not a ring. And yet, the golden ornaments, the necklace, the bracelet, and the ring, they are not apart from gold. Gold in itself need not be a bracelet. It can be a gold bar. It can be a ring. But the ornaments do not exist apart from the gold. The pottery, the pots do not exist apart from the clay. The clay itself need not be a pot. The water need not be a wave or foam or surf. It could be water vapor or whatever. It could be water in a glass. But the wave and the foam and the, every form of water is not distinct from water. So what the metaphor we are using here is, what we are trying to imply here is, consciousness in itself is none of its objects. Consciousness or awareness in itself is not a man or a woman or a plant or a rock or a quasar or a quark. And yet, man, woman, rock, quasar, quark are not different from consciousness. That is non-duality. So they do not have a separate existence apart from consciousness. That's really a profound truth. And that's a tremendous step to take. To appreciate yourself as the witness consciousness, as awareness, it's not very difficult. We never think of it that way, so it's very valuable to point it out. Yes. And that's what we do in non-duality, point out that you are awareness, and also point out the benefits of realizing that you are awareness.
Yes.
You sort of free of all the problems which you would associate with the body or the mind. As awareness, you're free of them. But then you go further and say that what you thought you were not, those things too are none other than awareness. But here's the thing, they are not parts of awareness. If I ask you, what part of gold is a necklace? This question itself is a bit odd.
Yes.
What part of water is a wave? No part. The wave is no part of water. Is it the top of the wave of the water, which is a wave, or the middle it's a wave, or no? So what is a wave? What is a pot? What is a pot in relation to clay? What is a wave in relation to water, or a necklace in relation to gold? The tradition of non-duality, which is known as Advaita Vedanta, would say they are names and forms and activity superimposed, appearing on the reality. So the universe is forms, names, activities appearing in consciousness. So, for example, a movie screen. So you see the hero, a villain, a car chase, and cops and robbers. If I ask you, which part of the screen is a cop and which part of the screen is an evil robber, you have to say no part. Swami,
Right.
they are not the part of the screen. The screen in reality has no contact with any cops or robbers or car chases. But the cops and the robbers and the car chases in the movie, they have no existence apart from the screen. They are appearances in the screen. The screen enables them to appear, them to be experienced, and enables them to do what they are doing. Similarly, this awareness is this incredible thing which enables all objects to appear, to be experienced, and to have their distinct identities and their interactions and do what they are doing, to appear, play around, and disappear. In the words of a great non-dual master, Ashtavakra, he says, I am this infinite ocean of awareness. In me are the strange, these curious little waves of beings, sentient beings. They arise, they play around, and they disappear back into me.
Yeah, very well put.
Right.
Yeah, I love Ashtavakra. He's very clear. Yes.
So the point being that the objective world does not form a part of awareness. It does not form, it's not something produced by awareness. It's not something included in awareness. All of these, if you say part, a part is always real. Like a table, the legs of the table are parts of the table. The top of the table is a part of the table. The objective universe is not a part of awareness in that way. Or a product. You go through, say, our physical body is producing hormones and enzymes and all of that. So that's what a materialist reductionist would like to say, that we want somehow awareness or consciousness to be a product of this extraordinary neuronal electrical activity going on in our brains. And that's what a materialist reductionist hopes. It would solve a lot of problems for them if it were so. So is it a product, a byproduct of processes in a brain? A scientist here told me that. I'm firmly convinced that awareness, whatever you say, Swami, it's none of that non-dual stuff. Awareness is a product of a living brain. And he was straightforward enough to admit that we cannot prove it yet. We're very far from proving it, but give us time, 30, 40 years, we will show it. So if I may take some time to show why this is a fallacy.
I'd love you to do that, because I agree with you.
Right.
The materialist viewpoint of the world has big holes in it.
Big holes in it. And this is an exciting time because there are people like David Chalmers and Bernardo Kastrup and Dan Hoffman, all philosophers, consciousness studies experts. Number of them, they're raising the same objection, and they're coming entirely from a non-mystical, Eastern wisdom kind of, from an entirely secular, shall we say, approach. And they are questioning this, that is it actually possible to reduce our first person experience to physical processes in the brain? And they're saying, no, we don't even see how this is possible. Ed Witten, who is, somebody said, he's the nearest thing we have got to Einstein now. He is the string theorist in the Institute of Advanced Studies in Princeton. In an interview, it's available on YouTube. He's a cosmologist, but a string theorist. But somebody asked him in the interview, so what about consciousness and the brain? And his considered answer was brilliant. He said that as brain science advances in the years ahead, I'm sure we will learn many, many things about the brain, but not about consciousness. Because consciousness will remain a mystery. And if you see that interview, you just have to Google consciousness and Ed Witten. You see the interviewer does not get it at all. He asked, the follow-up question is, oh, you want it to remain a mystery? Ed Witten is patient with him and he says, no. Now let me come at it from the Advaita Vedanta perspective and say, why is it not possible? What's the basic objection to reducing consciousness to brain processes? Let me start here. This is something that I had a discussion with Massimo. He's a philosopher and a biologist at the City University of New York. And he gave this example, which many of them do. Recently, I heard Ned Block, who is one of the leading philosophers of mind in the world today at NYU again. He also used this example of life. This is a classic stock example used. The example is, well, 100 years ago, people were saying life is a mystery and nobody can explain life. Science cannot explain life. 100 years later, we are now able to understand life down to the molecular level, which is a pretty good, deep understanding of what life or life processes are. Similarly, right now, we admit, consciousness and brain processes, we are not able to bridge the gap yet. But 30, 40 years down the road, we will do exactly what we have done for life. We will be able to understand consciousness as brain processes. This is called promissory materialism. I promise you a materialistic solution in the future, like life. Now, what's wrong with that example? I did try to explain it to one or two of them. I don't know if I got across. Look at it from the perspective of non-dual philosophy, Advaita Vedanta, for example. The first division we made between awareness and object. Let's just go with that. It's very easy to understand phenomenologically, the way it feels to us. I am awareness, and anything that I'm aware of is an object. Anything. It could be a rock out there. It could be the subtlest emotion in my mind. Are you aware of it? Yes. Then it's an object. And you are awareness, aware of the object. Okay, so what? Now, what science does so far is to explain objective processes in terms of simpler, more fundamental objective processes. So, life, in Sanskrit prana, physiological processes, are these objects to consciousness or not? They are. We are aware of the life. I mean, it could start with the Buddhist mindfulness meditation where you're aware of breath, the intake and inflow and outflow of breath. You're aware of prana. Down to a scientist studying subtle biological processes in the body, or an Ayurveda doctor studying the health and physiology of a living body. All of it is object to awareness. Now, you have reduced complex physiological processes to simpler, maybe organic processes, an organic matter. At a molecular level, you've gone down to that. You have explained objective processes in terms of more fundamental objective processes. That's entirely possible. There's nothing wrong in principle. You can explain life like that. But you cannot explain consciousness or awareness in terms of objective processes, because you are now jumping from object to awareness. Instead of reducing complex object, simple object, what you're now saying is, I will reduce the subject itself, awareness itself, to an object. That's what's called a classic category mistake in philosophy. You cannot do that. That's the fundamental objection from the Advaita perspective. When you say, I promise to do just like life example does not hold. There you reduced complex objective processes into simple objective processes. Now you are saying, just like life, I'm going to reduce awareness to objective processes. You're making a jump. That jump is not allowed. The other way works. We can, there is a way of reducing or seeing that all objects are nothing other than appearances in consciousness.
Yes. Yes. But also, isn't it that if you look at your direct experience, you don't really have true objective experience. Isn't it it's all happening through mind process, through the filter of awareness. So how could there really be a true objective world apart from awareness? No one experiences that.
Absolutely, absolutely. You might say that here is a pen. It's an object. Yes, but give a little more complete description. It's a pen I see. Isn't that true? Yes.
Yeah.
And I see the pen with the help of my mind, with the help of awareness. Isn't that true? Yes. So it's not just a pen in its solitary, magnificent isolation. Not at all. It's a pen in my visual experience. Visual experience depends on the eyes depend on the mind depends on consciousness. Now we have this, let's take a strong objection to this kind of thinking. We had this a biologist here. He's a biophysicist. He's our senior most member in the Vedanta Society, Bill Conrad. He's 97, and he's a Second World War veteran. Used to fly bombers in the Pacific, and a physicist. So his objection is, he often says, "But Swami, suppose you set up a camera in this room, and then we walk out of the room, and the camera is recording everything. We come back, and then we see the room is existing exactly as it was. And this room had, all awareness had been taken away from this room. We were not there, and the camera kept on recording the room exactly as it is. Therefore, an objective universe exists quite apart from awareness, quite apart from subjects, quite apart from minds. Is that true or not?" I said, "True enough, but look, go a little more deep. Isn't it true, Bill? In your awareness, you set up this experiment. You set up a camera, and in your awareness, you tell me, you tell Swami, and that let's go out of the room. And in your awareness, we walk out of the room. And then in your awareness, we come back into the room. In your awareness, we look at the film in the camera. In your awareness, you see an empty room. Apparently, nobody else is there. The whole thing is going on in your awareness or not." And to make it easier, I said, "Bill, consider, all of this could have been in your dreams. And you wake up from your dream and realized that empty room without anybody else was being imagined in a dream. Is it possible or not in principle?" He said, "Yes. And there's no way around it." Somebody said that, "But what's happening in the Andromeda galaxy now, or in some barren rock out there in the reaches of the outer reaches of the solar system? There's no awareness. But are you denying such a thing is there?" Notice, right now, you are making this claim and this experiment, all these discussions, they're going on in awareness.
Right.
The possibility of an Andromeda galaxy, of a barren piece of rock in the outer reaches of the solar system, all of it is this awareness through the mind talking about it.
Yes.
There's no way of jumping out of our own skin. There's no way of jumping out of awareness. This is an incredible thing. Now, one distinction I want to make here is why it's difficult to swallow is the difference between the old debate of idealism and realism in philosophy versus what the non-dual teaching is saying. There's a distinction. Realism, in terms of like materialist reductionism, or the idea that there exists a reality apart from our minds, apart from awareness. And the awareness through the mind and the senses comes into contact with a pre-existing reality. That's our common sense understanding of the world. That's realism. And philosophers like Bishop Berkeley and others, they challenged it and said, no, but even that, all that is in the mind. You cannot really jump out of the mind, yet all of this thinking is also going on in the mind. So ultimately, everything is an idea in the mind. And just consider, to see anything, to interact with anything, that has to enter our minds through our senses, and only then we can consider it. So whatever you think about, it's still in the mind. So this is idealism. There is no proof of anything existing outside the mind. Now, idealism is out of fashion today, especially due to the increasing prestige of science and technology and all of that.
Yes.
It's realism now. But here is the big difference. Non-dualism could be idealism in this sense, but need not be. What non-dualism does is it makes a distinction between awareness and the knower. This distinction is important. It's awareness flowing through the mind and the sense organs as a person, then the person is a knower. I know these glasses. I am awareness shining through the mind of this person and working through the eyes of this person and seeing the glasses. Now, from this person's perspective, I know the glasses, or I see the glasses. From my perspective, the glasses are outside me. There is a knower and there is a known. Here, the whole debate of realism and idealism goes on. But the teaching of non-dual awareness is untouched by this. It is, from the non-dual perspective, you can think of an independent material reality and the independent order of knowing subjects and interacting with each other, subjects knowing objects, both appearing in awareness. Vivekananda, in his poem, The Song of the Sannyasi, which means the song of the monk, he says, one only exists. It appears as nature and soul, or object and subject. Now, if you say the subject and object are interacting, that's realism. Perfectly all right. If you are an idealist like Bishop Berkeley, you would say the object is nothing but imagination in the subject. Again, perfectly all right, as long as the non-dual awareness is the base of all of this. That's why in Advaita Vedanta, we have multiple streams of teaching. One is very realistic. So Shankara interprets the Upanishads and the Gita and everything in a very realistic in the sense of philosophical realism. Consider the world exists and you are a person experiencing the world. It all exists. Take a common sense approach. And from there, he goes to the non-dual awareness. It's an easier approach. But there are more radical non-dualists who are idealists who would say the object is nothing but the subject, and the subject is nothing but non-dual awareness. Yes.
Great. So I'd like us. I could actually keep going for a while, but before we end, I'd really love if you could give an exercise or two for people to bring this more into their experience, more into their direct experience.
Yes.
We've been talking more philosophically, but I'd like to talk and give people some exploration they can do on their own, one or two.
Right.
Whichever one you would like to share that would help people start to experience this directly for themselves.
Yeah, I do love the philosophical part of it. So I'm a bit of a school teacher. I go into that.
No, but it was very well put, and I enjoyed every minute of it. But let's give the audience also, in addition, let's sweeten it a little by giving them something experiential.
At this point, I'd like to say the beauty, one of the biggest appeals of the non-dual path is that it can be immediately experiential, because the claim is that all experiences are because of awareness. So the awareness is always there and always available. You just need a skillful pointing at it, and anybody and everybody can just intuitively get what we are talking about.
Yes.
And get the benefits of that too.
Yes, yes.
So these are called prakriyas, or as you call them, vivekas. If you translate them, that means discernments.
Yes.
So the first step in non-duality is actually discerning what is meant by awareness here. We keep talking about awareness, but what is awareness apart from its objects? What is indeed awareness apart from mind? What is awareness in itself? Can we appreciate this? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. One thing to keep in mind here is what I had said at the very beginning. You are not looking for an object. If you find something that you're aware of, it's not awareness. It's something you are aware of. That which is aware is awareness. So let's take up a couple of quick exercises.
Sure.
One is from a text called the Drigdrishya Viveka, which was written about um, 700 years ago in the south of India. It's a manual of non-duality. And the first verse, it goes in 4 stages, takes you straight to awareness itself, whatever we are talking about right now. So it goes like this. Forms are seen, the eye is the seer. Eyes are seen, the mind is the seer. The mind is seen, awareness is the seer. Awareness is never seen. Okay. What does that mean? You start with this distinction. The seer and the seen are different. So the pen is something that I see. And the eyes which see the pen are different from the pen. In fact, the eyes which see everything, they're different from the seen. Every object that the eyes see have to be different from there. Otherwise, eyes cannot see it. In fact, the only thing that the eyes cannot see are themselves. You can see your own eyes in a picture. You can see your own eyes in a reflection or in a camera picture. But just the way the eyes see the object directly, in that way, the eyes cannot see themselves. So whatever is seen is different from the seer. Eyes are the seer, form is seen. Eyes see, the form is seen. Okay, you go a little deeper. Consider the eyes themselves. You relax and you open the eyes, you close the eyes a little bit, and you notice you're aware of the opening of the eyes, you're aware of the closing of the eyes, quite apart from what the eyes can see. You're aware of the eyes themselves. If I'm aware of the eyes themselves, then the eyes are now the seen in the sense of known. They are now objects. And what are the objects to? What is the seer or the knower now? The mind. It is the mind which knows my eyes are closed. It is the mind which knows my eyes are open. It is the mind which knows I need glasses. I'm not seeing clearly. So the mind is aware of the eyes, and the eyes are now objects. They are seen. And since the seer and the seen are different, the mind must be different from the eyes. Why only the eyes? All the senses, the entire physical body, the mind is aware of the body. So the mind must not be the physical body itself. Now, go step back. The third step is the mind itself. What do I mean by the mind? Each of us has this private inner life, a first person life. You see, we have got these 2 aspects to our being. It's very interesting that we are aware of the mind, we are aware of the physical body, but the physical body is something public. Everybody else is aware. The doctor can examine it. But the mind is private to each one of us. It is revealed directly to awareness, and it's not public in the sense of a physical entity. I am aware of my own thoughts, emotions, pleasure, pain, all of that, and nobody else is. But since I'm aware of the contents of my mind, uh, they are objects. The mind is also known. Take a moment to appreciate it, that this is an object. I see that object. The mind is also an object, not like this, but it's still an object because I'm aware of the mind. I'm aware of the contents of the mind, thoughts, feelings, memories, emotions, desires. I'm aware of them. If I'm unhappy, who else is more aware that I'm unhappy than me? I'm aware of the unhappiness in the mind. Then the seer of the mind, the one which is aware of the happiness or unhappiness, pain or pleasure in the mind, that seer of the mind must be different from the mind. Why? Because the seer and the seen are different. And we could go into this, but I'm not going to it right now. Appreciate. I am the witness of my mind. I am aware of my mind. Through my mind, I'm aware of the body and the senses. Through my mind and body and senses, I'm aware of the world. That awareness which I am, that is never an object. It never becomes its own object, and that's a good thing. We might think so. We don't know it. We more than know it. It makes all knowledge possible. It's like when I say there is this pen here. How do you know that? What's the proof that there is a pen here? The eyes see it. So the seeing with the eyes is the proof that the pen exists. The seeing with the eyes is a proof that anything at all exists. But as we saw, we cannot see the eyes themselves. So what is the proof that eyes exist? Seeing what? Seeing the pen proves to me that there is a pen. Seeing what proves to me that there are eyes. You might say, you see yourself in the mirror. No, you don't need to do that. Seeing anything proves to me that I've got eyes. Just the fact that I'm seeing. Similarly, having any experience whatsoever of an external world or of my own mind is proof to me that I'm awareness. That awareness which is proved in every experience. Every experience, seeing the pen not only proves that there is a pen here, it also proves I'm awareness. Closing and opening my eyes not only proves the eyes are open or closed, but it proves I am awareness. Thoughts arising, good, bad, happy, sad, not only reveal themselves, but it reveals that I am awareness. It is in this awareness all these experiences are taking place. Now, notice some facts about this awareness. This awareness is not a physical entity like the pen. It's not a sense organ like eyes, ears, nose, or something. It's not a body. It's not even a thought. All the things, physical entities like this, the body and the mind are subject to change. Things come and go. We see, hear, smell, taste them. Thoughts rise and float around in the light of awareness and they disappear. It's like in the morning you have a beam of light, like something like you're getting right now, and you have motes of dust floating around in the beam of light. Similarly, in the beam of awareness, thousands of thoughts float around. These, from the perspective of awareness, they are nothing to you. Entire physical world, the mental world, emotional world, from the perspective of awareness, they are objects. They're just like little bits of dust floating around in the sunlight. They're entirely meaningless. You can let them go, be this limitless field of light awareness. From that perspective, you have no problems.
Yes.
The physical body and its illness is not a problem for awareness. Awareness reveals the healthy body and the sick body without becoming healthy or sick. A movie screen doesn't catch fire if it reveals an inferno. It doesn't get wet if there is a deluge. So awareness is not affected by what it reveals. It's not affected by the mind. It's a tremendous thing. All the good and bad of the mind, all the sorrows and regrets and guilt and distress of the mind is equally calmly and serenely revealed by that limitless light, that awareness which you are. One of the Upanishads says that the awareness shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything is revealed. It means you shining, everything else shines. By your light, everything is revealed. Stay there. Moment something disturbs, note a thought or an object, note it is an object, I am aware of it. I am the awareness, I am the seer, and that's the seen. And go back to that awareness again. It could be an external object which comes up in awareness. It could be a thought, an emotion which comes up in awareness. Use every object to go back to that awareness. So this is one exercise.
Yes, it's a beautiful one. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I point out one more?
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Right. So there's this other one which is called the method of the 5 sheaths, the 5 levels of the human personality. It's a very ancient method. It comes from one of the Upanishads and goes like this. The objective is to see that I am awareness. And we might say that I don't feel that way. Good. Let's start where you are. What do you think you are? Point to yourself. I'll say this. So the physical body, I'll say, I suppose so. Then you consider the physical body. That isn't it something that changes? And from boyhood to teenage to youth to middle age to old age and eventually death. And aren't you experiencing it all? Yes. Then you, the experiencing awareness, cannot be the continuously changing body. Isn't it an object? Isn't the body an object? Yes, it's an object. I can see it. I can hear it. I can touch it. I can smell it, taste it. The body is an object to all my senses. So it's an object to awareness. Then awareness must be different from it because object and the subject, or knower and the known, are different. Notice, I am aware of the body. The body is not aware of me. This is a very subtle but very interesting, a very simple realization. Here, I am aware of the hand. The hand is not aware of me, the awareness.
Yes.
I cannot be this object which I'm aware of. It is, from that perspective, it is no different from the pen. I'm aware of the pen. I don't say I am the pen, but I say I am this body. But I'm equally aware of the body. How is it different from the pen? Someone might object, but you feel the pain in the body. Somebody said, if you knock the pen, you don't, it's nothing to you. But if someone punches you or pinches you, it is, you feel it. So you are, but the pain of the body is also an object. The moment I'm pinched, I feel the sharp sensation. Isn't that an object too? It's an object.
Absolutely.
Just like the pen. Yeah, I'm aware. My awareness arises the sharp sensation of a pinch. Just like that, the second level, the inner level of the breath. You breathe in and out. That's also an object. That's also continuously changing. I know it. It does not know me. I am the awareness. I'm not the breath. Go deeper. Thoughts, emotions, memories, what we call the mind. That's also changing. I'm aware of the changes. That's also an object. I am the subject, the knower of that object. That's also something I'm aware of. The mind is not aware of me. At this point, you might say, hold on. Mind is aware of you. Not really. What is the mind? Thoughts. A very simple experiment will reveal this. Think of thought. I'll suggest one. If nothing occurs to you, it's suppose 2 plus 2 is 4. Think 2 plus 2, 4. Now, did you know 2 plus 2, 4, or was 2 plus 2, 4 the thought at that moment? Was it aware of you? Is the thought saying, Swami, you have not taught me for a long time. Good to see you again. No. The thought is just like mental, words, language, and like a self speaking to you, like inner talk. That's it. It has no substance in itself, and it has certainly no awareness. I am aware of the thought. The thought is not aware of me. So the mind is also something which is object to awareness. I am not the mind. You go further. The intellect, which is doing this, it's a function of the mind, but I'm using it right now, trying to understand. So am I the intellect? Am I intelligence? Same thing. Intelligence goes through changes. It cannot comprehend. It works hard. Then it comprehends something. It is changing continuously. It is something I'm aware of. It is not aware of me. It's an object in awareness. So I, the awareness, am not intelligence in itself. I illumine the intelligence. It works in my light. But I am not per se intelligence. Go beyond it. If you try to go beyond the mind, no thoughts, feelings, ideas, memories, you'll hit a blank, like deep sleep or deep meditation. But that's an object too. You are aware of the blankness. It's
That's
a very
right.
subtle thing. It's like deep space, but light is flowing through space, and you don't notice it until, say, a comet or a satellite passes through it to the light. But light is there in the darkness of space also. Similarly, awareness reveals the absence of thoughts, just as it reveals thoughts. This is where non-duality goes further than Descartes. Descartes said, "Cogito ergo sum," I am because I think, therefore I am. And non-duality would say, you go further. I think, therefore I am. I think not, and therefore also I am. The I am reveals the thinking and the not thinking.
Yes.
It reveals the thoughts and the absence of thoughts. It reveals waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It reveals a chaotic mind and a deeply meditative mind. Awareness is one and constant. So that witness of the 5 sheets. What are the 5 sheets? You have to notice it in your own experience. Notice the physical body. Look at it and feel the physical body. Then close your eyes. The second sheet is the breath, the prana. Breathe in and out. Notice I am not that. Then go further inwards. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, the mind sheath. Um, you notice that I am not that either. Go further. The intelligence sheath. Notice I am not that either. Go further. What is called that blankness is called the causal sheath. And I notice that I am not that either. But I am the one light which radiates and illumines all 5. That is awareness. In Sanskrit, these are called the Pancha Kosha, the 5 sheets of the human personality. The physiological, the vital, the mental, the intellectual, and the causal. None of them I am. They all appear in me, the awareness. They play around in me. In my unenlightened state, I was not aware of awareness. I was not aware of myself as awareness. I was thinking I am those five. Now I know I am not those five. It's good to stay there. And notice all problems are there in the five, not in me.
Right.
Right.
None whatsoever.
A little bit of advice from a Himalayan monk, which I heard was delivered in his homely manner in Hindi. So the brunt of what he said was that don't misplace things. What do you mean, don't misplace things? That which belongs to that, whichever level it belongs to, let it stay there. Problem with the body is a problem in the body, not in you. Don't say, I have a problem because I am overweight. Awareness is not overweight.
Right.
Awareness is not skinny or fat. It's a body which is overweight, and we can deal with that. Illness, it's something to do with the physiological functions, the vital sheath, prana. It's not in awareness. Awareness doesn't have a cold, doesn't have COVID. No, it cannot.
Right.
Depression, unhappiness, mental sheath, not in me. It's there. Keep it there. Don't bring it upon yourself, the awareness. It reveals the problem in the mind, nothing to do with me, the awareness.
Perfect. That's actually a great place to leave it. Do you have any final thoughts to leave people with as something to explore or something to just ponder?
What we did so far was very philosophical, and this is called the path of Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. One important advice that masters give is do not neglect the other aspects of spiritual practice, the foundational ethical and moral life. That is important. The path of selfless action, karma yoga, that is important. The path of devotion, if you are lucky enough to have faith in a theistic tradition, any religion, that is very helpful to the path of non-duality. And the path of meditation, which is calming the mind, focusing the mind. They are all great helps. With the help of an ethical life, selfless action, devotion, and a meditative mind, non-duality is pretty easy. Yes. Without those supporting structures, it becomes, as one teacher once told me, without those ancillary practices, non-duality remains like a theory. You feel, I learned something clever today, but it doesn't change my life.
Yes.
It's only when those things are there, then the changes become very quick and powerful.
I hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Swami Sarvapriyananda. You can learn more about Swami and the Vedanta Society of New York at vedantanewyork.org. That's VEDANTANY.org. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you can have immediate access to future episodes. Please give us a 5-star rating and share it with the people you care about. If you'd like to learn more about my work, my mentor Lester Levinson's work, and the Sedona method, please visit www.sedona.com. As you explore our site, you learn the key to lasting happiness, success, peace, and emotional well-being. We have books, courses, events, and plenty of free material to explore. Again, go to sedona.com. That's SEDONA.com. Thank you for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Letting Go and the Greatest Secret.